So here we have an example of another categorical syllogism. We have two premises and a conclusion, and they're all categorical statements. So our first premise is no insects that eat mosquitoes are insects that should be killed. So we know first up we have a no. Here's our R. The second premise, all dragonflies are insects that eat mosquitoes. We have an all, and we have the R. And then finally, therefore, no dragonflies are insects that should be killed. So the first thing we need to do is figure out the mood of the statement. Again, since we have a no, we know that the no is an E statement. No P or Q. We have an all P are Q. We know that is an A statement. And then finally we have no dragonflies are insects that should be killed. No P are Q. And that is also an E statement. So our mood is an E, A, E. Now we need to figure out the figure. Again, the first thing we're going to want to look for is the middle term. And the middle term, again, is the one that shows up in both premises but not conclusions. So let's see what our terms are. First, we have this term, insects that eat mosquitoes. That's a term. We also have insects that should be killed. That's a term. So insects that eat mosquitoes, this is a term that can be described as P, and insects that should be killed, Q, right? No P are Q. Our terms here, insects that eat mosquitoes, insects that should be killed. In our second premise, we have dragonflies. This is one of our terms. And we have insects that eat mosquitoes as another term. All P are Q. P being dragonflies, Q being insects that eat mosquitoes. And then finally, we have therefore no dragonflies are insects that should be killed. No P are Q. P being dragonflies, Q being insects that should be killed. So now we need to look back. Dragonflies, well, we have dragonflies in the conclusion, so we know that's not our middle term. Insects that eat mosquitoes, well, it's not dragonflies or insects that should be killed, so this might be our middle term. Does it show up in our first premise? Insects that eat mosquitoes. Good, so we know that this is our middle term. And now we need to decide where it shows up in each statement. So it is the first term, insects that eat mosquitoes, in our first premise. So we put M in the first spot here. In the second premise, dragonflies is the first term, and insects that eat mosquitoes is the second. So we put the M here. And then always we know S and P, subject and predicate, for our conclusion. And in this case, dragonflies is the subject, and insects that should be killed is our predicate. So if dragonflies is our subject, it shows up in the second premise right here, but it's in the first position. So we merely put an S there. And then it shows up, insects that should be killed shows up in our first premise, but in the second position after the R. So we put a P there. So now we know our mood is an EAE, and our figure is an MP, SM, SP. You merely use your sheet now, you find which figure this is, and if an EAE is valid under this figure.